Hello there, and welcome to the final part of this 9-part series on backpacking. So in this part I'll just go through some of the small stuff I haven't mentioned in the other 8 parts. And this is not like a final list. There's a lot of habit and preferences and taste in this, but I'll show you some things that you at least could consider if you should bring, and some of it I would highly recommend that you bring. So, but I'll start with the sharp things. If it depends on the kind of trip you're going on, really. Is it a mere bushcrafty trip? Do you want to have a campfire and maybe sleeping under tarps? Or is it a more hiking focused trip you're going on? So it also depends on the kind of trip you're going on and the weather you can expect. So, but I would recommend a sharp tool. So a multi-tool like this with several functions is a good thing, and pliers that can be really handy for fixing things, maybe with tent poles or on the cooking gear. So a multi-tool I would highly recommend. If it's a more bushcrafty kind of trip, maybe you want to consider like this. It's a nice functional sturdy knife. And then a small axe, a touring axe like this. It weighs a bit, but if you are planning on making campfires, then or do some bushcrafty things, then and a good axe is recommendable. Then I have this fancy little saw, so you can simply just unlock it, and then there's a blade. So this is very good and very sharp. So I can cut down surprisingly big trees with this and saw firewood. So I often bring this if I go into the forest and plan to sleep there under a tarp. Then this is really handy and doesn't weigh much. Hiking poles. Some prefer to use hiking poles. Personally, I only bring them if I expect a lot of height meters or if I'm carrying very heavy. On most hikes I don't bring hiking poles, but I do have a pair. Consider if hiking poles is for you. And then I mentioned sunglasses in the clothing, the part on clothing. I'll mention it again. So sunglasses are really nice and essential, I'd say, when you're out. And then map and compass. Even though if you're walking on a known trail, I would highly recommend always bringing a map, a paper map in good quality. You don't know if you lose the trail, it might get foggy, you might lose visibility. So I would strongly recommend always bringing a map and a good compass. Maybe you're not going to use it, but again, if you lose your way, this is just a really good piece of safety equipment. Make sure that you can actually find your way back. And then, of course, you should practice using a compass. So it's not enough just bringing equipment along. You actually have to know how to use it. And then I have the map in a map case. So this is waterproof. So I can look at the map even though if the weather is lousy. And in the map case I carry a small notebook here and a pen. So often I spend part of the evening just writing down a few lines on what I did today, and if I had some reflections or something, it's really nice to be able to write it down and save it for later. So it's fun just looking back on all the trips I have in here and read what I have experienced, and just having these small triggers in a few lines can just bring up a lot of memories that you kind of forgot about. So map case, map and compass, and a notebook I recommend. And then for those dark nights, a headlamp. So this time of the year in Norway it almost doesn't get really dark. So for the next month or the next 2 months, you probably don't need a headlamp in Norway. But after that, then I will need it again. So a headlamp, at least if it's dark during the night. It might not be where you are, but you know best. It's really nice to be able to take off the hiking boots in the evening and just let your feet breathe a bit. And it's very nice to bring a pair of camp shoes or sandals. Again, I'm very weight focused, so I do like to take the boots off and carry something, wear something more airy. But I have made these, I don't know what you call it, flip-flops myself. So that is something you could do as well. They weigh almost nothing, and I found a recipe for how to make these, and I'll see if I can find it, and then I'll put it in the description below if you want to make something similar. So light slippers or camp shoes of some kind might be nice. And then something to eat from. I did mention the kettle that I often bring, that I can use for everything, but it is nice also to just have a cup meant for eating. I can drink coffee or cocoa or tea from this as well. And then I made a spoon, and I actually cut off part of the handle so it kind of fits well down in my cup. So it's not about the weight saving, but it's more making things fit together more effectively. So less volume. So something to eat from. Then sunscreen. This is for the skin, and this is for the lips. I have badly burned my lips from sun before, and that's very, very unpleasant. So something for the lips I recommend. You can actually use this on the skin as well. So, but a high factor sunscreen to protect your skin. And this is just this is 10 meters of pretty strong nylon string. So this is really good for, this is kind of part of a safety equipment. So I can use this for putting together a stretcher if needed. But I also use it for hanging up my tarp, and could probably use it for some kind of repairs. I could use it as extra guy lines on my tent. So this is pretty multifunctional, and I use it on most trips actually. So doesn't weigh much. It's very, very, very practical. So piece of rope or string. And then I did mention in the backpack video, backpack part, I mentioned dry bags. So I have several in different colors, as you can see. So this is just good for dividing up equipment, and these are waterproof, so they make sure that my equipment doesn't get wet down in my backpack. So dry bags, very good. What else? Toilet paper, and I do always carry matches and some hand sanitizer in the same bag as the toilet paper. So the custom here in Norway is that you burn your toilet paper. But you have to be careful now, especially when it's dry. So this is a nice little set. Doesn't weigh much. And then I have this is my first aid kit. So here are some bandages, plaster, sports tape, Compete. I have a small scissor and some tissue and some Q-tips, some painkillers. So just a nice little compact set of first aid kit for those. This is the only thing that you bring that you really don't want to use, but you should bring it anyway. Then I have made a small repair kit for the summertime. So in here I have an extra belt buckle, the big buckle for the hip belt. If it's a longer trip and that breaks, then you could be in trouble. So extra belt buckle I think is good. I have some glue. I have a tiny sewing kit. I have a repair set for my inflatable mat. And I have some patches for ripped material, so I can use, they are sticky in themselves, so they can, if you get a rip in your jacket or get a rip in the tent, then I can use those. Repair kit, good to have. This is my toothbrush. So I did say at one point I'm a little bit nerdy, so I did cut the handle of my toothbrush, but that was not so much to save weight, but more to make it fit better in the back. Toothpaste and some toothpicks with dental floss, so you can keep a good mouth hygiene even on the trail. And then for those of you who are into photography, then it might be nice to bring a pocket camera. So this is a tough camera, so this is pretty sturdy and waterproof, so I don't have to be afraid about this getting wet. So normally I just carry it in my pocket, in my thigh pocket during the day, and so I'm ready to snap some pictures when there's something to see. And then water bottles. So just to show you some options, so you can go for the lightweight and just have a water bottle from the store. So this works fine. I mostly use this in the warmest period of the year. So when it gets a bit colder, then I would start to use something like this. This is Nalgene bottles, and the good thing about these is that you can put boiling water in them without them deforming or melting. And I often use these to put in my sleeping bag for extra heat. So just to mention it, if you want to make a hot water bottle for the sleeping bag, then when you put hot water in, then let it stand just for a minute, and then because then the plastic expands, and then you can tighten the lid, or you have to tighten the lid. If you just put it in the sleeping bag immediately after you put water in, the lid will come loose. So you have to wait and then tighten the lid. So, but often I don't carry very much water normally. Here in Norway, that's not far between the lakes. So often just carrying half a liter is enough. In the winter time it's a bit different, then I carry the bigger bottle. So, but normally in the warm period of the year, I just carry a half a liter at a time. And then I have some different thermoses for hot water. I have my beloved coffee cup. I often bring that just to have a cup of coffee for the day. And then I have a small thermos. I think having easy access to hot water, that's also a piece of safety equipment. So it's just a good way to prevent or stop hypothermia from developing. Drinking hot water is probably the best way to get heat into the body effectively and quick. So having access to hot water, even if the weather is miserable and it's raining, and you can just stop to heat up some water with your stove, then a thermos with hot water can be a lifesaver. In these modern days, we often bring a lot of electronic gadgets with us. So you could bring a power bank like this, and the cables that fit your gadgets, so you have a little extra power if needed. And alternatively, you could a little bit lighter option. You could carry a small solar panel. But this, of course, only works if you have some decent sun. I have used this in France in the summer with very good results, and then I have used it in Norway with very bad results. So I think personally I'll go with the power bank from here on. But it might be an option where you are. And then this is a GPS. A lot of people have GPSs in their watches today. I often bring just this little GPS because it's the only one I got. If it's a well-known trail, I tend not to bring it. But if I go out for several days and I go away from the trail, and if I'm in unknown terrain, then I find that a GPS can be very worthwhile to bring. And then I always bring an extra set of batteries if it turns on, if the GPS turns on in the backpack, or for some reason it runs out of battery. And then it's worthless, of course. So having an extra pair of batteries is nice. I think most people today, they carry a smartphone, but I do like to use it for listening to music and audiobooks in the tent in the evening. And then I have a pair of headphones. And then I don't remember if I mentioned bringing a windscreen for your stove. It makes it more effective if you put this tin foil around the stove. Then you kind of you keep the heat from the stove closer to the kettle, and then it'll heat up faster. So a windscreen for the stove is recommendable. That was it. That was all the gadgets I would like to mention, besides everything else I talked about. Okay, so this was the final part in this series. I hope you have enjoyed it, and that there was something that you can use, so you feel inspired. If this is the first part you see, I suggest you go back and see the series from the beginning. You're very welcome to leave a comment below. I'm very curious about this backpacking series project of mine. So leave a comment, and you're very welcome to subscribe to my channel as well. So thank you for joining me, and have a good day.